I tell you once more, please get out of my way. I don't want you no more. We're done here, boy. I know you think you're so fine, but you can't see clear. I've been wanting to
Hello and welcome to Women Leading in Cannabis. I'm your host, Kyra Reed. Thank you for joining us today. Our guest is Annie Holman, owner, CEO, and CMO of The Galley, a co-manufacturing company in Santa Rosa, California. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you, Kyra. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to speak to you today.
I'm looking forward to speaking with you as well. Annie has had a career spanning 25 years in marketing and media. She is also the former owner of California-based Derby Bakery Cannabis Edibles that produced high-end, award-winning products, winning several Emerald Cup Best Edibles honors, as well as first and second place prizes from Edible List Best of Awards. Prior to entering cannabis, Annie ran a successful graphic design and PR firm for 25 years. Annie, I have really been looking forward to this interview for weeks, and I've got some questions for you about launching a company during COVID and how that has impacted your leadership. But I want to start with your story so we can bring our listeners up to speed on who you are and how you got into the cannabis industry.
So I will tell you that. I actually was, as you mentioned, a graphic designer. I had a small graphic design firm since about 1987. I graduated from college when there were no computers. So I started out kind of doing basic graphic design. And then, of course, all the computers came online and I taught myself how to use all the different programs and I launched my business that way. And as it turns out, that was a very good thing to do. So I did that for a very long time. And then I got very, very tired of doing what I was doing. And I was getting burnt out and I just kind of was, my heart wasn't in it. And I have a very high work ethic. And so when my heart went away, I knew I had to do something else. And I had a client who actually had an insurance company who was writing. She was one of the first people to write insurance for cannabis. And so she approached me and she had actually won a huge sum of money at the 2015 Kentucky Derby. And so she approached me and she handed off this chunk of change and she said, let's make a medical bakery. I was like, okay. And so just something totally new. And so we launched Derby Bakery. And we had that bakery for about 3 years. We had very good traction in the state. As you mentioned, we won a bunch of awards. We were one of the first brands to really start putting high-end CO2 oil into our cookies. So instead of eating a dirt cookie, with rocks in it, you had a very nice Lucky Lemon cookie with white chocolate and macadamia nuts in it. So that for me was the start of this whole big piece of passion that I'm doing now. Our bakery was medical. And so most of our patients were, either, end of life or HIV or cancer patients. And for me, it was incredibly gratifying to be able to hand off some of our products to people that were really sick and they were able to get off their opiates. And have a conversation and potentially eat some food and just be more comfortable and not so out of it, when they're trying to process these different diseases that they had. We were also really supporting our veterans because, they have a lot of the wounds mentally and physically. And so to be able to, I think I probably baked as many cookies as I sold as I did to give away to the veterans. So that was a big cause of mine. So that for me was very, very gratifying. The last reason I got into cannabis was also personal because I was also addicted to things like Klonopin, which is a sleeping anti-anxiety aid. And I was eating Advil like it was cotton candy or something. I had so many aches and pains from being on the computer for so long. And so I personally started using cannabis and different aids to sleep, different aids for anxiety, and that changed my life to be able to wean myself off these pharmaceuticals. So that's how I got here.
That is an amazing story. So let's bring it back up into the future now, because one of the things that I really want to talk to you about is what has been happening for you over the last 6 months. So you've had a really crushing 6 months, to put it mildly. You launched a new business right at the start of COVID. You've had management issues you've had to deal with. You've had employees you need to keep safe and investors you need to keep happy. How are you doing this?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, some days I wake up in the morning and I just wonder that myself, but I just keep going. And I think my key success is, and this is so incredibly cliche, but literally one day at a time. And I try not to look too far down the road, because when you do that, it just causes you a lot of unnecessary worry. And so I try to I put everything into buckets, and, A, B, and C buckets for the day. And I try to deal with the A buckets. And sometimes I get to the B buckets, and once a month or so, I'll actually get into my C bucket for the day. So, and they just change around. And so I really just try to focus on what's right in front of me.
So what do you think of all of the things that you've had to deal with over this last 6 months? Is a story that you can share with us about, things getting really bad because of COVID and how you've seen your way through to a positive end?
Yeah. So so first of all, we did have a change of leadership, and I have never been through anything like that. And so that was a very difficult situation, which I can't really talk too much about, but I will say that I learned a lot of lessons about how to structure the company better and how to deal with attorneys. And I mean, this was just all very new to me, all of this kind of, I guess, if you will, nastiness, because I just don't operate like that. I mean, for me, it's about people and relationships and being able to work things out. And so to have a situation that we had to deal with, that was very challenging. And that happened in tandem with COVID, in tandem with getting our license and getting up and running. So all of that's where I really had to put into play that one thing at a time, just one second at a time. Because, having all of those things coming at me at once was definitely, some days I was like, I think I need a lobotomy or something, so, but anyways, so the big thing too was COVID. I mean, there were so many unknowns, and there was so much to deal with. And I could just look around me and see my staff, just the fear, and myself as well. And so what worked really well for me was to just really be a human being. And as a CEO of this company, and I am a new CEO, and this is a brand new position for me because I was the CMO. And so, I really just decided I'm just going to be a human being. I'm not going to be a scary CEO. I'm going to connect with my people. I'm going to check in with them. I'm going to let them know that I'm also scared of this COVID thing. And that went a long way with everyone, and also with myself, because, it's lonely when you're up here, not at the top, but, it's just, everybody's looking to you to be the leader, and I am a natural leader, and I am growing into this position and actually starting to like it. And so just, empowering my people to help me make decisions about how to set up the plant more safely. We have weekly COVID meetings, literally. We have very strict protocol in place where everybody has to take their temperature every day, and they have to sign in and say that they've done that. And, of course, we are wearing masks. We are limiting the people who are the visitation. And we try to have most of our meetings outside as well. So thankfully, I have a lot of people around me who have some experience in setting up manufacturing and setting it up safely. But it was definitely challenging because of the unknown and how scary it all was and how quickly it was all happening. So I think, again, the best thing I did was just really connecting with my people. And that was easy for me because that's what I do. I mean, that's my thing. I'm a fixer. I just, everybody's like, call Annie, she'll take care of it. So yes.
So what was that? I want to hear a little bit more about that fear, because I think that there are, when you say fear, it's at this point so layered. It's fear of getting sick, fear of losing your job.
Right.
And they're very different fears. And I think there are a lot of women who are trying to lead their companies right now and deal with these fears. Can you tell me what those layers of fears are you as a leader experiencing, your employees are experiencing, and how you're leading both you and them through it?
So I mean, all of the above, what you just said. I mean, at the beginning of this thing, I mean, I tend to be an anxious person to some degree, although I hide it very well. But I also will talk about it with people. And for me, the fear of getting sick in the beginning was so incredibly overwhelming that I literally had to stop reading the news and stop watching CNN and just basically, I had the facts, I knew what they were, and I knew how to protect myself. And so then I thought to myself, well, okay, if I'm feeling this way, my people are feeling this way. So I actually drafted a pretty long email with all of the tacks and pivots that I have been doing to combat my fear. And I said, this is what I'm doing. Like not watching so much news, not getting on social media so much, talking to my friends, not just texting people, but FaceTiming people, So I had a whole list of things that I sent out to everyone. And I said, this is what I'm doing. So then I think they connected with me and okay, she's scared too. And a lot of people came to me and said, I sent out free applications for this, from Kaiser with their application that's called Calm. And, and I subscribed everybody to that. So, cause that helps me sometimes when I wake up in the morning and I just will turn the raindrops on, for 5 minutes. So I just try to give everyone the tool. Yeah, it does help, it's just, it's not like I'm sitting there for an hour trying to meditate and calm my mind, but just, doing some deep breathing. I've been doing a lot of deep breathing, taking those real deep belly breaths and holding them in and letting them out very, very slowly. Because if you do 5 or 6 or even 10 of those in the row, it absolutely changes your moment and even the next couple hours. It's actually quite remarkable. And you have to get way down in the belly to calm those nerves that are way down in your belly. And it does work. It absolutely works. So just giving people tools, I think, as a leader and letting them, again, know that I'm human. I feel this too.
I imagine that is very comforting for your staff to see that you've got that vulnerability as well. I think that's such an important aspect of leadership, is to reveal your humanness and your vulnerability to the people you're leading.
100%. 100%, and I came into this job very softly because I had not been a CEO. I mean, honestly, I had to Google that. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I'm like, oh my God, And so I came in lightly and softly because I had to figure out what the job was. And thankfully I have a mentor who's actually a man, and I talk to him every day for 30 or 35, 40 minutes. And he just, it's not like a big bitch session for me. It's a solving session. We have top of mind and we have this whole little agenda that we go through, and that he has taught me so much about, this position and being a leader and being a CEO, because it's different than being a marketing person, for sure. And so I'm so incredibly grateful to him and the things that he's taught me. And apparently I'm doing a good job. This is what I hear. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had an employee say to me yesterday, because we just got an HR department, so I'm very excited. So I don't have to be the HR anymore. So we had all these meetings just so everyone can meet everyone. And so I came in on the tail end of the meetings just to thank people for, dealing with the chaos of startup and the chaos of COVID, and just sort of letting them know that my door was always open. And I had somebody say to me yesterday, I want you to know, Annie, that when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel that I'm coming to work. I feel like I'm coming to do something fun, and I'm coming to be with my family. And I feel very supported here. And I was so, because that is exactly what I was trying to do here. And for her to say this to me, and she was so heartfelt about it. And I thought, okay, this is the ethos and the culture that I want to build here. Yes, there does need to be some hierarchy, which is something I've learned because I was trying to run the company a little more flat, but I'm realizing that most people need structure. And so there does need to be someone at the top, and that person is me. And so in the last 60 days or so, I've started to really own this job more and not be so flat about it, I guess, if you will.
That's awesome, Annie. That's
Thank
a real
you.
testament
Thank you.
to who you are, which actually leads me into my next question. When we first met, it was last summer, and I was producing the Lady Jane Society Women in Cannabis Retreat. And we met around sponsorship. And honestly, from the first minute that we met, we totally clicked. And I was immediately impressed with your compassion and your commitment to helping women in cannabis succeed. It was so authentic. It just kind of oozed from you. And as I got to know you, I came to find out that you are a real leader in this space with a tremendous amount of respect across the cannabis spectrum for your professionalism and your passion. And I want to ask this question with women in mind who may be just coming into a newly legal state, just coming into the industry, who also have that passion and compassion for women to help them succeed. How did you go from marketing to becoming one of the most high-profile leaders in the Northern California community?
I don't know. I would say, was that the doozy question? That is a doozy.
Let me frame this for you a little bit. So when you come into a new industry that is fully formed, there are protocols in place, there are paths to walk, there are places, things already put into place that show you how to kind of move into the position of a leader. In cannabis, it is the Wild West in every state as it comes on. And so we have to deal with things that are very different in this industry than any other industry. So what do you say to a woman who says, I see there's an opportunity to participate in this movement here. I want to lead my local women. How do I get there? What do I do to make myself a leader in this community? So outside of a company, how do I lead?
So I think for me, like I said, I am a natural leader, and I moved 14 times before I was 10 years old. And so I had to make my own way in the world. And I also had some pretty big learning disabilities. I have pretty bad dyslexia, and I never could read very well or do a lot of math, until I was put into the right learning situations. But I'm 57 years old. So back then they didn't know what to do with us, So, she's dyslexia. Let's put her in the dumb math classes. So I had to overcome a lot. And because I had to overcome a lot, and I did graduate college with 2 degrees and with honors, but for a long time, I didn't think I was very smart. And then all of a sudden, I started doing well in school because I was put in the right learning situations. My mother helped a lot with that. I also started doing art, which was my thing. That's what we do, us dyslexic people. We do art, and I do art like amazing. That's honestly one of my goals is to have a big barn so I can start welding big sculptures again and doing my giant tactile collage pieces from found objects. So anyways, sidebar. So I think for me, I would say to other women that you have to, I find in this industry in particular, and especially in the art industry, it's a very connective. And it's very supportive for women. And so for me, it was very based on what happened to me as a kid. It's super easy for me to talk to people. And so I just literally started going out to every cannabis event I could find all over the Bay Area and basically down through Fresno and sometimes in LA. And I literally would just talk to people. I mean, I would go get myself a glass of wine and then I would like just work the room, and not like in a salesy way, but just in a real honest, like, hey, hi, you know? And so I think you have to really learn to do that. And you have to not be afraid of the reaction, because the reaction you get, especially from other women, is awesome. I mean, it's full connectivity. So I would say to people, you know, reach out to your colleagues, you know, through organizations like yours, Kyra, and connect with people and lean on people, and don't be afraid to, I mean, I call people all the time with CEO questions. I mean, I know a number of CEOs now, and there are some times that I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to solve that. So I just pick up the phone. And in cannabis especially, I never get people saying to me, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you, or I can't tell you that, or, you know, it's just, this industry is very small, and it's very supportive, and it's very supportive of women. So I think in particular, the cannabis industry is, while it's crazy and wacky, women are good at crazy and wacky. We're problem solvers. We pivot really easy. We don't get our panties in a bunch. We make things happen. And so in this, I think this is an easier industry for women to get into than some of the other industries, 100%. So I would just encourage people to connect, literally, in every way you can. So.
I want to take that a step further with you, because networking isn't everything. Networking is not how you become a leader. Networking is how you get to know a lot of people. And I'm going to say that Annie Holman is one of the most generous women I have met in this industry. And that is a very important key to your leadership.
Thank you.
Because anyone who knows you knows that you're just talking about all the other CEOs that you can go to help. Well, everyone that I know that is intimately involved with you knows that they can do the same with you. And I think that is important to acknowledge as a leader, is that you set the tone for how others are to behave by doing that yourself. So tell me a little bit more about where that generosity and that desire to help, and you have such an open door. There's nothing about you that feels inaccessible. Where does all of that come from? Because, let's face it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been that way my whole life. I mean, I just, I laugh because I really wear my whole soul on my sleeve, and I'm very much an open book. And 85% of the time that totally works for me. The other 15% of the time I massively put my foot in my mouth. So, but it's just I'm very. I feel like, oh my God, I guess I should have said that. Because I pretty much say what's on my mind. I mean, I have been that way my whole life. And I do think it comes from what I experienced as a kid and all those challenges. And people just naturally kind of gravitate towards me because I am open and I am kind and I do want to help. And I actually am present. Like, I've always been present. Like, I'm not one of those people if you're having a conversation with me, we're having a conversation. I am not looking around the room to see who else I can go talk to. It's just like, so I really take the time to spend the time with people. And I think, people always remember what you say to them and how you make them feel. And I also understand the art of the apology. If I do something that's wrong, I apologize. I admit to my mistakes. I take responsibility, and that's all part of leadership as well. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. And so, but if I do something, I take responsibility for it 100%. So that I think is an important quality in a leader as well.
It builds trust. And that really is the big key to overcoming a lot of issues in leadership, is having the trust of the people who are following you. Okay, so I want to dig a little bit deeper into trust and leadership. And, we are women in cannabis, and we realize that we have this incredible opportunity to create a massive change, not just in this industry, but in the world at large, because we have this incredible medicine that we're bringing forward. And as many amazing women as there are in this industry, and as you said, we don't get our panties in a bunch. We deal with problems. We're used to crazy. But still, we can't seem to get out of our own way. There is so much infighting, unpaid bills, nasty competition among women in our industry. How do we overcome this and unify this incredibly powerful force of women so that we can become one voice and create massive change? Because it's not happening right now.
Yeah. It's funny. I know what you're talking about. And for me, I don't put a lot of energy into those situations. I see it, and maybe maybe I should pay more attention to it. Maybe it's going to take people like me to challenge some of the people that are, not playing as nice. But I tend, when I get treated, in a different way by somebody, I tend to not put a lot of effort back into it, and it sort of shuts it down. If somebody's complaining about something or talking behind somebody's back to me, I don't really respond much, because I find that gives people a pretty big message like, hey, what you're saying right now is not very nice, and it's not productive, and you should think about the way that you say things. And I don't even need to say that, because I don't give a big response to those types of situations. So maybe I should. I mean, maybe it's something I should be thinking about a little bit more, because I do see that happening, and there's just absolutely no reason for it. And it does, honestly, it kind of surprises me some, especially in this industry, because much like the art industry, we're pretty open, cool people. But I do see this, and I do see this within women. It's almost that cattiness, I suppose. That's why I don't like all those lists that come out with the top 50 blah de blahs, So it's like, whatever. So yeah, maybe I need to think about that more, and maybe I need to, I think you've given me something to think about here in how I could give to the community a bit more.
Have you seen the, I think it's on Fox, Miss America, about the woman who, it was played by Cate Blanchett, the woman who basically fought. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent theory.
Right? So when I look at this incredible community of women that we have, why can't we organize the way that she did to bend the will of the law to what we want? And, we're not trying to stop access and equality. We're trying to promote it. We're trying to make medicine available to heal the planet. What do we need to do to create solidarity and unity and act as one voice so we have power? And I put this to you because you are one of the leaders.
Yeah, we're already doing it with organizations like yourself and what you're doing, and the Lady Jane Society. I mean, what you're doing is already doing it. And I have a group up here called Bloom. That's a women's group that we were starting to organize. And unfortunately, we can't get together right now, because I think us all being in the same space is really critical. And that's why events like what you did, I mean, people talk about your event like more than any other event that I went to. No kidding. Oh, you went to that. Really? How was that? I mean, I just I get so much positive feedback from your event. And so I think it's going to take, and good for you for keeping this going in a digital way. I mean, I see a lot of groups that were going and doing these, physical events where we could see one another. They're not doing what you're doing to keep this going. So I think, to answer your question, it's people like you that are, doing things like what you're doing that's going to make this change and this shift. I mean, because when you also, I mean, you're an incredibly respected leader. And when you talk, I mean, all the talking that you did at your event, I mean, I listened. And, a lot of people talk blah, 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 blah. You really have a lot of good things to say. You say it in a concise way. You don't go on and on and on. And so it's people like you and like me, I need to get this Bloom thing back up and running again. And we actually were considering doing some digital stuff. And I haven't had the bandwidth to do it, but I think that's what it's going to take. We gotta keep going in these types of scenarios.
What do you think that we can accomplish if we do?
Well, I think we can squash out some of the negativity, and by being positive and by being supportive of other women. I mean, women aren't used to being supported, right? In most industries. And so here we
Very
are
true.
in the cannabis industry. So they come into this industry and all of a sudden they're like, wow, there's Kyra and Annie out there and they care about me. How cool. And so then they start acting that way instead of like, always, just being more, a lot of women are real, holding their cards close to their chest because that's what we've been taught to do. And so, being able to, being treated in a connective, respected way from people like yourself and myself, I think that teaches people lessons, to be able to branch out and be more connected and make this an industry. I mean, I think, honestly, I think we're already doing a really, really good job of all these things. And I think as women in this industry, we've accomplished a ton of things. Just the overall leadership, women in cannabis. I mean, this is what your podcast is all about. I mean, we don't talk about women in the car making industry very often, right? So it's just, this is awesome.
Very
women
true.
in cannabis. We are doing it. We are doing it. So I think it's going to take some more time. But I'm actually really pleased with what I see around me for the most part.
If we were able to speak with one voice, what would you want us to say? What would be the big message you would encourage women together to come together under one umbrella in this industry to make a change, to fight for policy? What would that unifying single message be?
Oh, that must be the doozy question, huh? That is a doozy. Wow.
And think about it in terms of this. We are where we are because of amazing groups like Normal that had one mission.
Mhm.
They weren't trying to do a million
Mhm.
things. They wanted legalization and patient access. Okay, so in California, at least,
Mhm.
we're there. And throughout a lot of the United States, we are. What's next?
I think connecting smaller groups together that are in California to the connectivity throughout the rest of the United States. So finding ways to connect with women in other states and empowering them, and then bringing that globally as well. I think that's a good route and good message to be able to support women that aren't directly near us.
I think I like that a lot. Is there anything else that you want to say to our audience of women who are listening right now, who are tuning in to learn more about leadership in cannabis?
I would say that your best bet is to really just be who you are. Just be the person that you want to be, and you don't have to, I don't want to say prove anything, but just be who your heart tells you to be. Be open. Don't be afraid of being too trusting. I mean, a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you're too trusting. You're so emotional." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, good." Like, so, and
Good
know that you're
answer.
going to make, yeah, it's like, so what, like, you don't have any emotions, and something I'll say back to somebody, but it's just, I think, just really, I'm a big growth person. And so I'm one of those people who, if I make a mistake or if I go through something, I really look at it very, very closely and say to myself, okay, what did I get out of this? Even if it was something that was negative, I look at that and I say, okay, how can I do this differently next time? I really pay attention and be present and understand my growth patterns. And I really am proud of myself for that, because that self-awareness allows me to really understand other people, and to understand how, I mean, honestly, going from running a solo design firm and only dealing with clients to running a big company and having employees, that's been a big shift for me. And so I've had to really learn, how you speak to employees and how you address their issues. But I'm naturally good at it. I mean, I've figured it out because I'm myself. I don't overcomplicate it, you don't have to play by all the rules. What rules? Like I think you just really, you stick to your gut and listen to your gut. I mean, that's another little thing that I'm pretty empathic, and if I do something that my gut's telling me not to do, it usually does not work out. I could say that for about 85% of the time. So, I mean, women have that extra little sense, so use it. So, and also too, don't be afraid to take risks. Take risks. I mean, I'm really, really good at picking. I mean, with the change of leadership we had, the mess that I had to clean up was so intense, and I had to have so many uncomfortable phone calls trying to pick up some pieces. But I got very good at it because I realized, you know what? I'm a human. I'm talking to another human. This happened. I'm just going to be really honest about what happened, and I'm going to find a way to work it out. So all these uncomfortable conversations became, for me, not so hard. So because I was just myself about it. I was just honest. Here's what happened. How can we fix this? So don't beat around the bush.
I love it. And what I love about that is the call to authenticity. And in a lot of other industries, women really are called to not bring their authentic selves, right? We're called to bring our more masculine self that's dressed up in heels and hair, and not that doesn't exist in cannabis. And it's a freedom that we all have to express ourselves as women. But if that's not who you are authentically, there's still a place for you here. Because the women that I've met in this industry are drawn to it, not because they're in search of fame and fortune, but because they're in search of healing and helping to heal the world. And that is an incredible equalizer.
Yeah. And when you do that, I was just going to say, when you help heal and I mean, when you give like that, you get it back tenfold. And that for me is, that's the way the universe works. I mean, I'm not a super religious person, but I do think there's something out there bigger than me. I don't really know what, but, for me, it's like a soul spinning universe. And when you give, the universe provides. And when you don't give and you do things that aren't so great, it's going to come back to you. So I think it's, for me, it's very, very gratifying to give. And then it does come back, and that feels really good too.
Thank you so much, Annie. This has been a really enlightening conversation. I've enjoyed speaking with you, and I really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and everything you've done for the industry, and I'm very grateful that we have met. And like I said, your event was the best event that I went to all year last year, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again. And I think what you're doing to keep this going is amazing, because that's what's needed. So especially now. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.